Hi guys, this is the Audiofool, and for today, we're going to review the Dali Zensor 1 speakers.
Who's your Dali? Who's your Danish audiophile loudspeaker industries?
They're certainly cute and tiny, but they could still belt out a huge voice.
Oh, the speakers. I
Up
thought
front,
you were talking
the
about
Danish
something else.
speakers have a 1-inch tweeter and a 5-inch wood fiber cone woofer.
They do say that 5 inches is
And
average.
it can go as low as 53 Hz. So it's certainly built well. And at the back you have the rear port.
Yes, the rear port should be at the back, and the front port is in the front.
So sensitivity is 86.5 dB at 6 ohms resistance, and it's relatively lightweight at 4.2 kilograms. SRP is around $400 US, but you can get it at Amazon for $350 US or 220 UK pounds. After playing it for a while, it's certainly an impressive speaker for its size.
Play with your 5 inch.
For trials of the pass, the first note is okay. The second bass note immediately starts to trail down already, and then it loses majority of the SPL at the third. The vocals are clear and present though.
Danger.
For Frank Sinatra and Bono's duet, I've Got You Under My Skin. Again, bass is surprisingly in good amounts, but vocals take center stage, being forward and solid. For Norah Jones, don't know why. Nora's voice is almost verging on sibilant, but the lower frequencies are quite solid and full-bodied as well. And the piano is amazing when it starts to come in. For Alicia Keys, If I Was Your Woman from the MTV Unplugged album, it's also very enjoyable, although I think the punch could do it with a little more depth or oomph. But when Alicia sings, she sings like, it feels like she's singing right beside me. So comparing it with the KEF LS50s, the LS50s are almost 4 times the price of the Dali Zensor ones, so you'd expect it to be the better speaker. And with all of my test tracks that I chose for this comparison, they were the better speaker. So I won't go through all of my notes for each track, I'll just give you the key points that I found interesting. So for Norah Jones, don't know why.
You're going to go through the test tracks,
The
aren't you?
vocals of the Zensor ones are actually more forward than it is with the LS50s. But it was a bit too smooth, or maybe it lacked some details, so the coarseness of Norah Jones' voice came out better in the LS50s. Then for Trials of the Past, by Subtract, both of them also lost SPL at the second note, although the Zensor ones lost more SPL compared to the LS50s. The LS50s actually almost made the same SPL level in the second note, but just a little bit off.
You're off.
Then finally for Vivaldi's Spring Allegro as conducted by Karajan, the large number of instruments really just drowned out the Zensor ones if you compare it to the LS50s. So it was easier to separate the instruments with the LS50s, and again with orchestra music and big band or other complex pieces, the LS50s are much better. But then you already know that.
Yes.
But
So
if
why
I
did
just
you compare
compare the
them?
vocals, or maybe the mid-range piano notes in the mid-range, the Zensor ones actually, I think, can compete against the LS50s.
You just said
So
it,
the LS50s are almost 4 times the price of the Zensor ones, but they're definitely not 4 times better than the Zensor ones, especially in terms of vocals and mid-range. So next I'll be comparing it with the ELAC B6. So for that comparison, I didn't use the Shit Ragnarok. I had to use a different amp. I used the Lepai 7498E. So it's a cheap Class D amp, which is very decent. But I didn't use the Shit Ragnarok because the ELAC B6 doesn't sound good with the Shit Ragnarok. Plain and simple.
Please elucidate your meaning.
If I use the Ragnarok with the ELAC B6, the ELAC B6 produces too much bass and the sound becomes too veiled, too blanketed. It's like
It's like a blanket
the
over your head.
highs are muffled. But if I use a different amp, it's much better. Although there's the focal point of the ELAC B6 are still the bass. It's much better with other amps that I tried, including an Onkyo Integra M304 vintage one. So for Trials of the Past by Subtract, as you would expect, the ELAC B6 performed very, very well.
I did
It
not
actually
expect that.
almost made the third note. It just lost a little bit of SPL, so comparing the two, definitely the bigger speaker made bigger bass.
Bigger is not better. Well, that's
For
what I
Nora
tell
Jones,
myself.
don't know why, the ELAC B6 produced a bigger soundstage and it was a little bit more detailed than the Zensor ones. But I much prefer the vocals with the Zensor ones compared to the ELAC B6. For Alicia Keys, If I Was Your Woman from the MTV Unplugged album, again the ELAC B6 produced a bigger soundstage and the instruments were a little bit more detailed, but the vocals were not as presented forward as compared to the Zensor ones, and it's not as punchy and lacks a bit of a sparkle. So again, I much prefer the Zensor ones for this song. For Vivaldi's Spring Allegro, as conducted by Karajan, this time the soundstage of the ELAC presented a large orchestra compared to the Zensor ones, which felt more like a small practice event. It was much easier to separate the instruments in the ELAC B6. For the Stone Temple Pilots' Wicked Garden, the ELAC B6 had a rock concert feel. It didn't sound as harsh to listen to, especially with all of the distortion in the guitars. And it really felt like a rock concert as compared to the Zensor ones. Although the Zensor ones was surprisingly more punchy, it was also harsher and it was easier to listen to the ELAC B6. For Blue Rondo a la Turk by the Dave Brubeck Quartet, again the ELAC B6 had a bigger soundstage feel and there's more detail in the instruments, but the sax and the piano notes were definitely better in the Zensor ones. So I actually like both speakers and I don't think you can really go wrong with any of them.
I like all speakers.
But if your preference is vocals or acoustic stuff
Or fluffy
or mostly
unicorns.
music in the mid-range, you should probably go with the Zensor ones. They produce really good mid-range. And if you like bass, lots and lots of bass, you listen to complex pieces, orchestra, big band, EDM,
Rain clouds and
you should probably go with the
thunderstorms.
ELAC B6. What I really like the most about the Dali Zensor ones is definitely the vocals and mid-range production. It's really top-notch. It can go toe-to-toe against the LS50s, which is one of the speakers with the best vocals. This can actually, well, it will lose, but it's not too far behind. And it's also very, very pretty. It's probably one of the more better looking speakers in the price range, and
In the Batcave!
even a bit higher. Definitely stands out the way it looks, and the size, you can place it anywhere. What I don't like about it is, well, the sound stage is a bit smaller, at least compared to the ones I tested it with, compared it with. So it doesn't really have the big feel, although again, the vocals really make up for it. But the thing I really don't like about it is that, well, it's a bit expensive compared to, let's say, the B6. The B6 is around $280, $250. This one is $350, so it's kind of a tough call, considering the use case of the Dali Zensor ones is limited to vocals and acoustic.
Debugging programs.
But at the same time, most people probably would listen to those types of music. And for another thing, given their focus on the mid-range, I think they would actually do very well in a small home theater setup, where you can easily, because of its size, you can easily place it anywhere.
Like on top of the B6!
Since the movies have most of their sounds in the vocals and mid-range, it would do very, very well in a home theater setup. But since this review is more of a hi-fi centric review, I've been Audiofool. The Dali Zensor once proved that big things can come from small packages, but it comes at a price. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions or comments, please let me know down below.